And so, my recent videos that I have done lately on End Time Warrior Project YouTube channel, I did some videos on what could possibly be coming up on the year 2027, the things that are possibly planned for inside of America. And one of the best explanations I've heard of that is, in case you guys were not up to speed on it, these things may have already started by the time I post these videos, but supposedly back when what happened to JFK decades ago, the reason we don't have the full files on that is, I believe, is because the same secrets going on back then is needing to be the same secrets today. So to keep everything secret, we have to keep those files pretty much sealed. So since those days, um, uh, if you have studied these things for a while, you'll know that people have said that that was the time when that was the last time we had an actual true president in America. That's the last time that we had a true president. And so the theory is that there were groups back then that started what something like called Project Elijah or something. And there have been like private wars since then. And then some people have they have various theories that these same Kennedy family members are involved to some degree or other. Some of them are behind scenes, some of them are open, some of them are quiet, some of them have changed their identity or whatever. And I don't know if I believe all that, but there's this theory that they have been looking for how to influence the presidents that are in there, or how they can step up and start cleaning house, especially since we have had super traitors elected. And so they have been, okay, we've got to really do some things. And that explains what I've discussed on some of my videos, if that theory is true, of why there was a truce at George Bush's funeral, and why Trump, the first time he was here, and the 17th letter of the alphabet was a bunch of codes, which I followed that for about a year. Like, what's going on here? Until I saw that nothing they talked about ever really happened to the degree they said. So I lost faith in it. But some things did happen, and everything was being so mathematically followed out like some kind of a time clock that I decided that that was AI back then. I said, this is some kind of a computer program. They're training the AI by pretending like there's scary big world events that the AI can react to, so how it's going to react for real. And it can give the best answers to them or something, because it was just like a clock and it was perfect. And it was way too mathematically precise for people or groups of people to be doing. So I quit following it, especially after. Um, they were going to do all of, they were getting all the crooks and all the names and sealed indictments, and they was going to go out and take care of all of it and clean it all up. And Sean Hannity was going to come out one night and make this announcement: it's happening, you guys just stay quiet, stay calm, it's okay. But Sean Hannity came on, and this was the time they were interrupting and distracting that idea with George's funeral, whether he died or not. And Sean Hannity comes on and says, oh goodness, guys, well, and stutters and does like this second rate news program that seems like a fill in and a filler show. And then the Laura lady comes behind him and she's like, oh my goodness, guys, that's not how that was she literally just came right out and said, that's not how that was supposed to go. And then she did her show. They were supposed to announce something that night. So this was supposed to happen before and it was stopped. And all this could be planned too. I don't know. It could be planned to how convenient to remove a large part of America and take over with the AI. Maybe that theme has crept in too, on purposely or not. But I think the theory is these groups were looking for who can present us, because every time somebody comes out of nowhere into politics and they're boosted way up, there are people behind them. So I knew, just like the Vance character, I knew, I was like, where did he come from? Where did Trump come from? What is this? So apparently, they chose him because he had been vocal about things like the birther issue. And they knew he would cooperate to a degree, and he agreed. There were several people approached. And if you guys want to follow this loosely, I don't agree with everything on the channel's Prophecy with Stan. And it's the old Prophecy Club where they used to have the most amazing interviews But now he comes on like every weekday with 30 minutes of his take on what's happening, and he's the one that first clued me in on this theory is back now, and he'll cover things like it from time to time. If you guys want to go check out that channel, he'll give kind of updates and follow him. And I don't agree with everything he comes up with, but he's the one that has been following this and keeping track with it for so long. So this supposedly was why they have been resisting Trump so hard. Like all of the trashing him through the media on the first round, putting him through the lawfare, what they did in Butler and all that. And it also this idea also brings a new idea to me, a new meaning of my dream of the 34 moons, because you can go watch I'm not going to go into super detail here. You can go watch the videos I've done on that already if you wanted to catch up on that. But so 2020 in August, I had this dream of Trump and 34 moons. 34 moons after the dream, Trump was uh, indicted, or with the 34 felony indictments. They found him guilty, and so that was the heavy lawfare. And at the time in August when I had the dream, I was so busy with all kind of stuff and shutting down my channel, and it was the virus. But that would have been the time where people were like, what are the people hearing about um, who's going to win the election? Well, I think that was telling me not only he's not going to win and he's going to come under lawfare, it's going to be stolen, but why? This gives the deeper meaning to my dream of what was going on in the whole country. Is this war behind the scenes? 34 months later, 34 months later, he's going to come under the lawfare for it, and why they stole it, and the 34 months into his second presidency, he would be stopped because of the war, possibly. And so I think that's possibly some of the deeper meaning to my dream and other people's dreams too, and what the information they're giving. But so the idea is now that he is back, they're fulfilling the idea. They're going forward with the plan, even though there was this so-called truce back in 2018. They're going forward with a plan for the cleanup, and that's why they're going in and doing the federalizing to shut down protests ahead of time. One of the reasons. There's probably more than one reason, and for sales being one of the reasons. But while they would shut down protesting, while they go in and do these massive arrests, which that can turn into other things later. So people are kind of watching it and concerned, but that's also why they're building so many facilities and what could be happening with that. But this time, that's not the only agenda. That may have never been the only agenda, with the letter 17 being the precise calculator, that there's the agenda to set up the artificial thing in behind it with computers. And so I believe the computers are going to say who gets arrested, when, where, how, and where they're sent to, including after they're done with this project. That's how it will operate. But so I ask everyone to just pray that that goes the right way, because this is one of those things that could go either really, really bad, or it could be like postponed until the last half of the tribulation, something like that. That's my idea on it. And so that's what I think is actually going on in America shortly. And at first I was like, InfoWars is not covering this at all. So they've really been told to shut up and sit down. They've learned their lesson. But lately, AJ has picked it right up. He said, insiders are calling me. I got lots of information. So as of Sunday, I believe it's going to be the 24th of August in 2025. As of that time, I think he's going to start coming out saying what he's being told behind the scenes. I've also paid attention to what's described in the gospel descriptions of the end times, like in your Matthew 24, Luke 21, I think it's Mark 13, where it gives a layout, and I believe it is also, it's in order. It's another thing that's not going to happen randomly, because it says, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens. And it starts out by saying you're going to see the beginning of sorrows with earthquake in diverse places, pestilence, wars, rumors of wars, which I believe we are fully into, and is the first seal's opening, actually. But after that, one of the things I've been looking for is what it talks about. I think especially in Luke, it talks about great signs and fearful sights shall there be from heaven. And that could be the UAP situation, but it could also be other like heavenly signs, and they may have started and are being hidden on social media, like things we don't understand. I have seen that there are videos in certain places of the sun acting strange, for example, and I'm going to say that it doesn't even matter why. I'm just going to follow these scripture verses primarily. But what comes after that also is betrayals. And there probably is going to be a lot of snitching when they go to the rationing system. You can probably be in a better state, in a better situation if you turn in people. But probably the technology will also do the betrayals. But it does specifically say family will betray family. So there's that too. And then after that is the description of the Lord coming back, a cataclysm with the Lord's return. And so I would say expect very big changes, guys. Very big changes in every way. Be grateful for everything we have while we have it. And try to be, uh, what does the old song say? Um, if my robes are white when he calls me, if my robes are white, I will hear. Try to be ready whenever we're called on, whatever we should be doing. I'm also trying to coach myself because this is one of my weaknesses. The justice is coming. It is a super short time. The evildoers are already having a lot of justice. I have an issue because justice is always hidden. When there is justice happening, when it's obvious, it's hidden because the enemy is trying to get people caught up on the Lord left me behind, the Lord did this to me on purpose, He's turned on me or something, I'm left by myself, and things are all backward. The mind games that they must have worked enough on so many people, that's why. And meanwhile, these crooks are having to live in such a horrible condition, spiritually. It's just no, the justice is written into their crimes. But I think a lot of what I went through was just kind of foreshadowing a lot of things, including the things we will go through for so long and hard with limited answers, help. Thank God for what I did have. I'm just saying, but it's going to seem like a justice issue. That's one of the hardest things. And the part in Hebrews where it says that the Lord um, despised the shame, and shame is a deep, um, can be a lot of deep definitions there. It can be being ashamed, being shameful, being shamed by others. But it can, I believe it also could mean things like confusion, lies against you, lies that you know are lies. You ain't even ashamed. You're mad. You're like, that is so obvious. So despising the shame to me is deep. And I appreciate that verse a lot. That's come to mean a lot to me because it is okay to despise the lies, if you will. Mike from around the world has been sharing his dreams again. I don't remember his dreams very well right now. I need to go back and review them. But one of the main ones he had was the stone steps. And apparently he saw something major happening to one of our leaders where they were being falsely accused. Um, Stone steps were involved. They were led up stone steps. A major event happened to them. They were rushed down to a car by what looked like officials, something like that. And they had been thinking that that dream was fulfilled by the Butler event in Pennsylvania. What I'm seeing a lot in these studies of these dreams and prophecies is it very often happens twice, and I'm going to get into some of that. So I'm wondering if that was one of the fulfillments, because a lot of times when your dream actually happens in the real world, you will be like overwhelmed with the understanding and like the feeling of the dream. Because there's some kind of a interesting relationship between the dream states and the waking states. Like, for example, I believe the attack that happened on me on 9/11 is a dream state. It's a waking thing for real. It's spiritual, but it's a dream. It's a vision. It is a vision of um a lot, like for example, if it does happen for 7 years, if it's a foretelling to 2027, like I really suspect it is, because a major sign happened at 3.5 years that the Lord was kind of knocking on my door and letting me know 3.5 years you're going to see something, and it did. But even like the real life events are dream, if that makes sense. And sometimes we can be in a dream state. That's why the Bible says, wake up, because the enemy can catch us in dreams and daydreaming and living in another realm and sphere. And he wants to capture us in that. That's part of what I think that verse means by wake up and be in the light. It's time to wake up and walk in the light of the day. And so there's different studies of all that, but what I keep seeing in the fulfillments of these things seems like it's at least two, like a shadow and a real one, or twice somehow, an echo, a mirror, if you will. And so I think maybe his stone step streams did happen, but it's going to happen again because now he's been saying that he had the dream again, so he feels like it's not over. So we can be in prayer about that. The stone steps of something major happening to one of our political leaders. Apparently, it puts America into a turmoil state, and it's a big part of what's coming. So, probably it's the same person as what happened in Butler, and probably that was a part of it. But another fulfillment is still coming. It would be my take on that. But some of the things he talks about in his dream seems like Russ Disdar's Black Awakening, where people are programmed to just trigger at a certain point and go out and start doing program purges with targets. And I found there's another guy that's coming out now. I don't know what to think much of him, Nathan Reynolds, I think his name is. If you guys want to look that up, and he says that he was born into those families and that's how they're programmed, and they have details of specifics of what to go hit to cause chaos at a certain time. And so that sounds like that was part of what was in one of his dreams. So I would just say have preparations with your family and safe places and things like that, and an idea of what your responses could be at those times. There's a program time. This could also be one of the reasons why the computer programs are telling our leaders to lock cities down, by the way, that sort of idea. So I'm not trying to rage and rant and say it's all bad, but just a heads up. There's been the theory that America must be burning before they come against the final target of Israel. And at this point, I don't know what level of the WW they're going to allow it to get to before our saviors show up to save us from everything. Because that's obviously it's such a program script, and yet whenever it comes out on the news, it seems so believable. It seems so believable that, oh, yeah, they're coming on this asteroid and this comet. Yeah, of course. Just, guys. And it does seem like in the scriptures, the last half of the tribulation will be some kind of stress on Israel. But one of the things I'm wondering too is it seems like the more I study out and the more I listen to teachers and their ideas on things, the more the understandings of the scriptures come to me. And after I'm done with this mid-decade update, I want to do a Bible study on what I understand or think that I understand and know of the prophecy verses so far. But I'm wondering if this stress that seems to come to Israel at the last half of the tribulation is mostly going to be to the Hebrews in the cities from the leadership that's in control of like the abomination that causes desolation, and they're setting up the image. And I wonder if that's not going to be like a conglomeration of states coming against them. It does say they'll be surrounded by troops, but I just wonder who's really going to cause all that and why, and has a lot of that happened already or one time already? These are questions a lot of people ask. In other words, the wars that we see today, I'm not sure if it's going to lead to that event of Israel this time or if that's caused by like an AC system later. One more thing I'll add here about things that may be coming. I've talked about the 10 kingdoms, the 10 kings that did not have a kingdom as of yet, but they gave their power to the beast system for 1 hour in agreement. Because, like I'm saying, guys, a lot of these people have been raised this way, they are appointed to these positions, and if they had not been in this much agreement already, they would have already been removed. They are in agreement. They're in agreement behind scenes. They're probably running all the wars right on schedule. And I'm not saying all of the leaderships of all the countries even know, but I'm talking about it's fishy. But these 10 kings, they may not include the entire earth. a lot of people are making these 10 regions of the earth like those are the 10 kings, but it may not include the entire earth. It may include regions surrounding Israel, like Europe, Asia, North Africa. Just different people have different theories on those 10 kingdoms and where they come from. But Revelation does say that the entire world will be required to go under that system. So that's what makes you think it's going to be everywhere. And the entire earth would be involved regardless. It's going to be everybody. And a lot of like your prepper channels are saying, well, the further you are from the big organized cities, the better situation you're in. I would say with the drone technology and with what we carry in our hands all the time and all the time looking at, that's not quite true. But there is hope as far as I do believe different parts of the world are going to be treated differently. And it always was and always has. But everyone keeps saying that I find a lot of people agreeing with what I think I see in the scripture. The last half of the tribulation is the worst. That's going to be go time. So now Trump is back in charge, and the A and the I systems are being set up very quickly. So the entire world is going to shift and change quickly from here out in ways that there's a lot of ways things are going to be super different than what we can expect that we've always seen as far as economy, shopping, wars, news, jobs, work, currency, economy, and election cycles. And there's signs that Trump was even allowed to come back, even though there was a lot of resistance to what happened the first time, or he was even pushed back into office because they know that he will work with these tech leaders to set up the A and the I. You can see that their cleanup that they had started and gossiped or rumored about doing in the very first round, they're continuing with that. And it's even been announced by the government officials of the news agencies now, and some of the reporters and patriots, that there are still like up to 500,000 sealed indictments. The mass arrests are planned, and it could be military tribunals on the grounds that what they have committed is treason. Some of the things that Trump has said about not caring about what the people think, and also like if they voted in an extremist in New York, he had said months and months ago, maybe like a few months ago, that something to the effect of that's okay, they can control New York City. They can take New York City. And I was like, oh, really? That was back before this. So it's changing drastically. Get ready. And of course, war can be used as the excuse. Doing all these prisons that are being set up everywhere, just like all of the big data centers are being set up everywhere. So now it's not just Alligator Alcatraz. There's a lot of places being set up. This puts a system in charge that will be handed over to and is probably already being run by A and the I. And these systems and the companies that are involved, you guys probably already know about it. There are certain names of the companies and the same suspects behind the scenes that are running it, and they are also in charge of the wars in different places of because supposedly the efficiency level, they've already handed the A and the I over to be controlling and planning the wars. So that would be the system, by the way, which is like the beast system. It will culminate into the image of the beast, but even until then, that's the system that will tell who to be detained into the coming system. And like I said, we can pray that it is not activated very quickly. After they process the criminals that have been indicted now, maybe, it won't immediately be citizens, but that's the big danger. And a lot of people are seeing it immediately. And the thing is, we've gotten into such a place of collapse and war and threats and different things that people can't really protest it. So, and the patriots that know about it are more likely just to continue to prepare. But we're going into a whole new system. This is a whole new economy, and it's not even going to be jobs anymore, and it's going to seem like, or they're going to make it like not everyone is needed, especially people that are not in the new programs. And it could be wartime. We could be in the middle of a war. So Trump could very likely be our very last president. And some people say that there are signs that he is, like the way that he is building up certain things in D.C. And this is all reminding me lately of my dream of 2009 of the takeover of America. And I'm going to play parts of it here just to show you guys how this dream has happened so far. I think what we're about to see is a new part of my dream happening. And it's been happening since 2008 election, and they took over with the healthcare reform, the new healthcare laws. That's whenever I could see this, the part of my dream that I could feel and see that this big dark animal was busting his way through the window and wiggling and working till he got all the way in. I felt that the whole next year after I had the dream of the fight that it was for the health care to pass. One of the aspects of the dream is the young men that were something was wrong with them. It wasn't right somehow, and they were just silently in the room. The young armed man was silently in the room, and everyone just kind of ignored it and carried on with their life, but they knew that wasn't normal and it wasn't right. And so I'm going to play parts of the video, and I was very, very sick when I made the video, so bear with me. If you want to see the whole video, of course, it's on this channel. I was in a house and I heard threatening growls in the backyard of the house. So I finally saw it was a shiny black dog that was the actual threat, and I could tell it was a threat. And as I watched it, the dog started getting very tall and growing and getting big and tall. Finally, he was as tall as the house, and he came to the window that I was looking out of. I'm in this room looking through the window, and there's this huge black dog that makes me feel threatened. And he stuck his head into the window, and he broke the window very easily. Now his big head is up in the room with me, his head and his neck. So there I am with this huge dog head that started filling up the whole room. I went to another room, and there was a lot of other people standing around what seemed like a kitchen table. A while later, I asked someone, "Hey, whatever happened with this dog that just broke in?" And I was shown visually when I asked, I was shown. Once he had his head in the house, little by little, he wiggled and worked and struggled until he got a leg in. He got another leg in, and finally he was inside the house. He was able to break into the house. So once I saw that scene, I had the overwhelming feeling that a monumental violation had occurred. Nothing would ever be the same again, and there's nothing I could do about it. There's nothing anyone could do about it. And it was this feeling. That's the same feeling I had the next decade as I watched what happened in our politics. But I would have that feeling of this black dog breaking into the house. Then I looked and I could see that the dog had turned into a young man. It was a tall, man-sized boy. He went around scaring and tricking everyone, and people were hiding things from him. And it was just a known feeling in the room that when he's around, things are hidden. But they were mostly ignoring the best they could, but secretly sharing, but ignoring it and hiding. So we would talk amongst ourselves, and we would stand around this table and pretend like this man boy was not there. So next, I'm going to cover a little bit about 2030 and the pale horse, some theories on that.